Shout out Redzone In the Lab podcast.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's Benjamin St. Jude, DB for the Washington Commanders. I want to give a big shout out to Redzone In the Lab podcast.
Welcome back to Redzone In the Lab podcast. I am Deuce, and today we got a special show, impromptu show. We got our friend to the podcast of Front Office Sports, AJ Perez, once again delivering everything that we need. And AJ on the timeline, I'm just loving your kickbacks, AJ. I'm loving them.
Yeah, it was quite a night. I'm out here. This is my parents' house where I grew up here in California. And, I was at Costco about 7 o'clock West Coast time, and I got an inkling that there was a good chance. So, had to hold back because I didn't know until, every senator, Mike Lee, as I reported, was one of the holdouts. But, by about half an hour before the actual Senator Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, introduced it, I had a pretty confident feeling that it would pass. But you never know. This has been such a weird process.
And let's kind of think about that process, kind of go back a little bit, right? You've been covering this the whole way, right? We had a few hearings dating back from 2023. I think, three or four hearings, something like that. I think it finally came up in February where it passed. We was on a good track. You came on the show. We're good track. We see where this goes, around December's when everything is kind of lined up how you kind of said that it would kind of line up as far as, the votes through Congress and now on, the president's desk. But let's just go back a few days. We get a bill, the CR, the spending bill, we didn't get into all the CR and the government, all that stuff. But the RFK spending bill is in there, right? They voted, it's in there, 1,500 pages, whatever the case may be, whatever side you on, you can discuss that among yourselves. So what happened?
All right, I write a lot about these. I do a lot of reporting on these NFL aggregator accounts and sports these accounts that aren't journalists, these accounts that spread misinformation. Well, this wasn't a sports one really. This was another account that basically said there'd be $3 billion of federal funding for a football stadium in DC, which the bill specifically says, and it's never had any funding element in it. When it was first introduced in July 2023, 18 months ago, there was never any funding in it. There's a lease that runs for another decade that the DC has for the land, but it can only have a stadium on it. And no football team, if they're going to open up at 2030, and no football team can use it for less than a decade and then have to build a new stadium. So this basically just extends the lease, gives DC more options for it, and that's it. And it passed in February, like you said, in the House overwhelmingly, and then finally got out of committee. And the fact that it came out of the House Oversight Committee, which is one of the most chaotic committees in Congress, bipartisan support. I covered the hearing there, outside of the Maryland senators and the Maryland congressman in that hearing. So there was some opposition, but then we had the Senator Daines, the Montana senator, who pushed back over the Native American imagery, bringing that back from the old logo. That was solved, and then we learned on earlier Wednesday, before we saw the CR, the first version of the CR, that the two Maryland senators had backed off their opposition. So it looked great. Even Mayor Bowser was doing interviews and almost spiking the football. And then Elon Musk tweeted that misinformation to his many millions of followers, and that really got to just put a lot of pressure on, and his other tweets about the CR as well. I'm not going to go through the veracity of all the other ones, but that caused a lot of heat. Trump got on it. Trump helped kill that first CR, and then the next two CRs didn't have the stadium bill in it. And the last CR, the one that was approved and that kept the government funded, late yesterday, and on the House side yesterday, and then to the Senate side, that bill wasn't in it. So, I kept hitting my sources up. I'm like, well, there's still a chance. You find out that you need all 100 senators at that point to get all 100 senators to agree on anything, including if the sky's blue, is tough. So it was still, there's a lot of work. The NFL, the Commanders, Mayor Bowser's office, Representative Comer who's the head of the oversight committee. Everybody, the mayor's office, everybody was really pushing those final few hours.
So let's go back to the tweet and the quote tweet. You hear, well, it wasn't about RFK and it wasn't about the stadium. It was all this other stuff that was. How did that have so much of an impact? And when you kind of like, for me, I would kind of think that just that tweet wouldn't have done anything because the people that's responsible for reading it would have read it and understood it has no money attached.
Well, yeah, it was just kind of became a political football. It was it was so much heat about the CR and the size of it. And I think it's a lot of people, not maybe even Elon Musk, not understanding what kind of horse trading goes on in this kind of a package. This was a House bill, the CR, the 1,500 whatever pages it was, but it was also worked out, 4 different entities. You got the House GOP, the House Democrats, and then you have the Senate GOP and the Senate Democrats. They'll have to be on board. They have to know there's enough votes to get this through, and there was an agreement. This is why it sent everything into disarray, because this was a non-controversial bill. Yeah, there was some things in it that people pulled out that are all in a lot of big spending bills. Now, should the stadium ever been in that position? No, it shouldn't have been. It should have been passed out of the Senate, or the Senate could have taken it up, done some amendments to it. If they didn't like it. They didn't. They just kept it. So that's why, that on Wednesday, the CR language, it was in there because everything had been worked out between all the sides of this. And then it blew up. And then, everybody had to scramble to see if all 100 senators could, get on board with it. When it was kind of late Thursday, when the first CR, came out, that's when the lobbying started on the Senate side, because that was the only option at that point.
So, going to bed over here on the East Coast, we hear you, Flack also. Hey, look, it may be a small chance, but it's a very small chance. Like the outcome, was that the small chance that you was referencing to?
Very, yeah. I didn't want to give anybody false hope. I thought there
Thank
were.
Thank you, AJ.
I do not, I don't want to, I don't want to give anybody false hope, but that's why I kind of kept it to myself largely. But then I kept hearing things, and when my NFL and team sources went quiet yesterday, that's when I really know something was up. My congressional sources were still keeping me up to date on both sides of the Senate and the House. All my sources were, hopeful, and then keeping me updated, and then even giving me a little timetable of like, yeah, the Senate will vote on the CR, the Senate will pass the CR, and then they're going to go into the back room and get a few of the bills that that everybody agreed on beyond the RFK Stadium bill. There's still bargaining, and there was till the last minute that when Senator Mike Lee was one of the last ones who voted against it in committee on the Senate side, there was a lot of convincing that had to be done, even going up minutes before. And then Schumer steps up there 1:15 a.m. and announces that there's going to be there's going to be this bill passed by all 100 senators, and within about 2 minutes it was done. That was it.
Yeah, I saw the clip.
Yeah, so I was I was watching on C-SPAN from the West Coast here, and yeah, I was ready for it. So I kind of was waiting for him to say it. You get a lot of tips on these types of stories, and you just wait it out really. It's just because, like I said, no false hope. It looked like it was there was a decent chance yesterday evening, but you never know. This Congress is. You never know what else a tweet could blow it up again. Who knows?
So what was it actually like a bill? Like what do they actually call? Explain that part, because I don't know what it is. I've heard some things a separate bill.
The official. Let me get you the official title. HR 4984, the DC Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Stadium Campus Revitalization Act. And it hasn't changed much since it was introduced 18 months ago. And basically, it's right now there's a lease on the land where the DC has control for a stadium, but it expires in a decade plus. No team, and they're not going to be opening it up till 2030. We don't know where the stadium is yet. So that's like 10 years. You get 10 years to have a stadium, and then you're going to tear it down. They're going to become a squatter. Right. So there was to have a legit shot at a stadium, they had to get that lease. That's why this creates a 99-year lease beyond a stadium. There's parks that are an option, retail, even housing. So if for some reason it doesn't, this is there. I reported earlier this week that this was the Commanders' preferred choice by the among team ownership, and it is. They wanted it. This is why he saw Josh Harris on the Hill, Mark Gein, Mitch Rales. They were all calling and physically being on Capitol Hill to lobby for it. And Goodell a few weeks ago was out there talking it up. And you have all the NFL, all the other people in the NFL that do this kind of government work, and Josh Harris and the mayor. Everybody was really on board, but it took a lot of turns before we got there. But it's really, there's no federal money in it. It's just like basically there's just a new lease. That's all. This is with DC not having any votes in Congress, either on the Senate side or the House side. It was really tough. I mean, there's really this, if DC was an actual state, it would have been much easier.
Yeah.
Because there's it's not a lot of people in the GOP side especially don't want to rein in DC. Don't like some of the local control. Not all of them, but some senators and congressmen on the GOP side, didn't want to give this away. That's how they felt. It was like a land giveaway, even though they already have it. It just they need to develop it, and they needed this lease to do so.
So, is there anything else around the stadium? Have you heard anything about the Commanders practically purchasing? Like you have the new DC fields at RFK. Of course, you have the Army directly in front. You also have some other development off to the left with DC Jail. Now, have you heard anything of any of those properties the Commanders are looking to purchase?
No, it's pretty much going to be a lease. Now we don't know. It'll probably have to be because you have to the DC Events own the land and in the process of acquiring where the Caps and Wizards play, the Capital One Arena. So that's a DC Events venue. And the Nats Park is a DC Events venue, and RFK is as well under the current lease. So it's probably going to be some public-private partnership to build this stadium. And could there be? There's going to be a fight over public money now. There's going to be likely to be public money, and they're going to. But but ownership's told me. I've heard my sources close to the team telling me, this is the preferred site. They hint that they'll take less public money to be at RFK than Maryland. Maryland could probably give more. There's a lot. Governor Moore and a lot of the other politicians in PG County want to keep the team there, and it still could end up that way. But the hard negotiation, especially from the two senators Van Hollen and Cardin, that really kind of I wouldn't say it annoyed the team, but it made it harder. And they're businessmen. They're going to take the best deal for themselves and for the future of the team. So I don't think that's going to be any hard feelings there. But it was tough, and I think the Commanders on Wednesday, when this whole thing was kind of first announced, there was an end of life plan for the Northwest field site. Northwest Stadium. So there's going to be, there were concessions made there on if the team leaves, the team owns the land, 200 acres in Landover, they own the stadium, that, they're going to redevelop it and replace it with something of equal economic value and tax revenue. What that'll be, we don't know. We don't even know where it's going to be until the papers, we're still, I would say 18 months away to maybe 2 years away to knowing for sure, if RFK will be the site. Right now, it's looking great. You never know. There could be local opposition from neighbors. There could be, public funding.
Super rats.
So, super rats. Yeah, you're out there. It has to be torn down still. You're just out there. It needs to be torn down. They're going so slow. This is going to speed that up. But there's going to need, there's probably, like I told you on Twitter, there's probably some there's probably building materials that are now banned. They have to be taken out very carefully. And during the demolition, they may have to do, other things to the land. I'm not, it was a football stadium. It's not like it was some kind of chemical site or something, but there's all, you always find things. So they got to get that land ready. And that's why it's going to take another 18 months just to get the land ready at least. So we're not home yet, but now it's a chance, and it looks like if I had to guess, it's more than 50% at this point. So we don't know, and I think this kills Virginia's chances. Virginia is holding back, as I reported earlier this week, and seeing if it died, they're in DC. If this bill died, Virginia would have been back in it probably. I think, and they still may come in. We never know. This year they passed a stadium authority study, or I say they passed it last year. So this entire year they've been doing a study about creating a stadium authority for a football stadium somewhere in Northern Virginia. That doesn't look like it's the case, but Northern Virginia is not going to be left out. I reported also this week that the team headquarters in Ashburn, the most likely there's probably not enough room, because that land at RFK is going to be used for other things besides the football stadium, other kind of development. So there's not going to be room for a headquarters, most likely not going to be room for a practice facility. So I would expect a brand new facility. I'm not saying right where pretty much where they are in Ashburn. I don't think it's gonna be any other place in Loudoun County, but that's going to be worked out, because I think the team wants to stay out there. The Loudoun County politicians want them out there. You don't have to worry about traffic, other than training camp, I guess. This is not a big deal. I think, and they also, I think that the team and the players like living in, out in suburbia. I don't know about all the players, but biased.
Out here in Upper Marlboro, like it's some mansions, but they old. They old. So I don't know
we have Loudoun's like McMansions and data centers. That's all we got in Loudoun County.
Yep. All right. So before I let you go, what's next as far as the Commanders, the bill, the bidding? What's next?
It'll get signed by President Biden before January 20th, if not for the next couple of days, and then becomes law. And then the work begins on the local level, getting the city council on top on board. And we don't know how much pushback there's going to be, especially for the ward that represents where the RFK site is now. So there's going to be a lot of things to say. There'll be environmental impact reports, economic impact reports. Those are all going to be generated, and then that's the next step. And then after during that process, we talk about public money. For the next 3 years, it's about $500 million that the DC is committed to Monumental Sports to upgrade Capital One. So the next 3 years could be tough to finance, but there's no rush. I think there's going to be a way around that, and we don't know. Josh Harris is building pretty much a totally privately financed NBA arena to replace Wells Fargo Center for the Sixers. So and you also have this beyond Josh Harris. This is a rich ownership group. There was talk when the sale happened that he was too poor to build a new stadium, which is laughable. They have, this ownership group has access to many billions of dollars. They have many $1 billion in capital themselves. If they see a better advantage, it's a bigger economic advantage for them to be in the DC, because if it's a dome stadium, you can have all these other events. You can have concerts and everything else that somewhere at FedEx now, at Northwest Stadium now. But we see the thunderstorms in the summertime. We see the cold in the winter. It really cuts those back. And also, it's the worst stadium in the NFL. So it's really not the most attractive site. So the World Cup and everything, there was never really any consideration. So, so this is gonna be more than a football stadium, but that's also a downside, because that means more traffic, the more that residents have to put up with, but at least the metro's not gonna be a full mile away like it is now. So there's absolutely walking distance. So they got that going for them, and the parking situation and everything else, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Outside of this, what else are you working on, AJ?
I'm on vacation now, so I'm on a vacation since Wednesday. I've been covering this, so vacation. I have a couple other projects coming up that I can't even talk about yet, because we're not allowed to announce them. But some big things are coming in 2025 from me in Front Office Sports. So stay tuned.
Yeah. And I was, just to go back, I laughed at when they put the renderings out for Capital One yesterday, trying to get their sales in the public. I thought that was funny.
At least those renderings looked like they could actually happen. Not like the 2016 Snyder Landover Moat surfing.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
This is looking like, my next project will go into how close Dan Snyder got to moving to somewhere else in Maryland. There's doing a little video project on that. So
okay, cool. AJ, again, we thank you so much for all the work you've done for us. down through the years, get with that other guy and keeping us in the loop of everything that's going on and with this and whatever else to come. So again, thank you so much for behalf of all Commander fans and of course Redzone In the Lab. I definitely appreciate you, AJ. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. Merry Christmas.
Right, buddy.
See you later.
That was awesome. Like a lot of information there. Who is this? Mark Allen. You ever seen Deuce play linebacker? You better ask Coach Bob. Oh, what's up, man? I be telling them, man. I was pretty good in my heyday, man. Definitely appreciate you for joining, man. Is this Coach Bob? Is this him? Who is this? Or is this Marky Mark? I know this ain't Marky Mark. This can't be Marky Mark. Hold up. I know this. Hey, huh? This Marky Mark, huh? From Flag. What's up, boy? Oh man. Send me a message, man, so we can yeah, man. Send me a comment on here. So I can get up with you. All right, man. We appreciate all y'all for joining. Appreciate your time for you to use your time with us. We know your time is very valuable. For the user with us, we definitely appreciate it. Remember, do it because you love it, not because it loves you. One beat, one sound, one heart, one love.